Yeah.
Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
I'll take it. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Come on,
Give it to me. Give it to me.
5 days drinking? Come on now.
Oh,
Back.
well rested. Took a nice little nap.
A little nap. I feel like a hibernation. It feels.
5 days worth of rest.
But we let the intro music roll when the Boston Celtics win. Good evening, everybody. I'm Justin Lowe alongside Mr. Nick Franco, Brendon Cox here. Guys, the Celtics get a huge blowout win against the Detroit Pistons tonight, 123-99, their 25th game of the regular season. They improved to 20-5 on the regular season. Obviously, a huge bounce-back win coming off of a brutal loss at home on Saturday against the Memphis Grizzlies, although shorthanded. That did not seem to matter tonight for the Boston Celtics. Obviously, no Jason Tatum, missing just his second game of the regular season, working on rehabbing that patella injury that kind of been lingering for a little bit this season, but using this time to really kind of focus on healing up. Early December. If you take tonight off, that gives Tatum a full week's worth of rest. Absolutely love to see that. Obviously, Sam Hauser take it tonight off as well with an adductor injury that he suffered from that Saturday night game. If you guys remember, he left early against the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday night, did not return, did practice with the team yesterday, went through a few workouts today, but ultimately was not ready to go tonight. But we got some stellar step-up performances that we'll get to a little bit later on. But initial reactions, fellas. Franco, we'll start with you.
Well, a win never comes easy, but this is probably the easiest we've seen so far this season. A little slow off the start, and something that I'll go deeper into is the starters not being able to start off the game as hot as they do when Peyton Pritchard's on the court. But we'll dive into that later. We just saw some phenomenal all-around team basketball tonight. They were firing on all cylinders. You saw the guys who usually don't need to step up in scoring step up tonight because our leading scorer, Jason Tatum, was out tonight, taking that well-needed rest, and that's only going to be a positive heading into the rest of the season. The way, if we can give our stars a little load management, not too much like the other players do around the league, but we keep them healthy, we keep them happy, and we followed through all the way. We didn't see any lapses with the team. The fourth quarter, we obviously got to see a lot more of the rotational players, the back end of the bench, a couple of G League players, JD and Drew Peterson stepped in, and they looked comfortable out there tonight. And also Luke Cornett, I think, did a great job tonight, and I think he won that backup center role with tonight's performance.
Yeah, no, tonight's definitely, I think the first quarter definitely was like lacking consistency, but once we kind of rolled into quarters 2 through 4, I just saw what we need to keep doing, just so like consistency. It's just like, keep moving the ball, and obviously, keep the offensive stretch going, because the offensive glass tonight was stellar as well. I mean, I missed that all these past couple of games too, so it was good to kind of see this go for the drive for the ball more, and so just we got to keep doing that moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. The Celtics looked refreshed tonight. Something that I noticed right off the bat, Celtics were running in transition tonight. 22 fast break points to Detroit's 18 fast break points. Now, I understand Celtics were running in the mud on Saturday night, second night of a back-to-back, coming off a huge win against Milwaukee Bucks, playing heavy loaded minutes. But if you watch that game, one of our big concerns coming out of that game was Boston just got totally outran in that game, outscored 22-4 on the fast break. Absolutely terrific job running out in transition, acquiring the rebounds. They had 43 defensive rebounds tonight to Detroit's 34. 43-34. Now, listen, I understand Duren was out tonight, that one of their starting big guys. I do understand that. So running a little bit thin at that center position, but Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, terrific physicality guy, undersized center, but he gets the job done. We saw opening play on Kristaps Porzingis, huge block. But tonight, Franco, I loved the physicality that this team brought, the rebounding, running out on the fast break. I just thought the Celtics really, really, really capitalized off of their 4 days rest.
Isaiah Stewart is one of those players that has always been on my Celtics Christmas wish list, but I don't think we'll ever get him. Who knows? Brad Stevens has pulled off miracles before. Never say never with him in the front office. But, man, they really did step up tonight. I think they were running a much bigger lineup, and we got to see Al Horford back in that 4 spot tonight with Tatum out. And he did great matching up with the younger guys. They weren't getting too burnt on the defensive end tonight with the younger players on the Detroit Pistons. Obviously, a young upcoming team. We have only seen them grow over the past few years because the only way to go from the bottom is up is with the Detroit. But I think they did a phenomenal job with taking care of the rebounding. Luke, as we said, Luke Cornett stepping in,
terrific,
was awesome tonight. Cato, I wish we could see a little bit more consistency out of him. We're still seeing that raw production out of him. We're still seeing those errors being made. He's got to weigh down that left or right foot a little bit more because he's been getting way too many traveling violations when he gets those passes. But that will only come with time. And it's an all-around great team win with Tatum out of the lineup, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how we can continue to utilize Peyton Pritchard. Thing that I was talking about earlier is this team needs to figure out how to get the ball going into the basket without having that at that 6-minute mark when Peyton Pritchard is filling in. I think the ball, we should be firing at that type of rate off of tip-off instead of 6 minutes in after the first rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we start, Celtics have been starting flat for a while now. It feels as if they come out, and it's weird because this starting lineup last year, I mean, of course, we're, quarter of the way into the season, 25 games in. Can't complain too much when you're 20-5. That's best for second in the league. But I feel as if, and you make a great point, Franco, I don't know what it is with the Celtics. They came out flat even tonight off of 5 days rest, shot 2 of 10. I'm not looking for these guys to turn up the 2K sliders and go 10 for 10 and all of a sudden be up by 30 in the first 5 minutes of the ball game. But the Celtics come out with very low energy. And I agree with you. Boston cannot wait for Peyton Pritchard halfway through the first quarter to come out with energy. That's just not going to cut it. Maybe game 25 against the Detroit Pistons in December. Maybe it'll cut it then. It's not going to cut it in April, May, and June when you're starting to face teams like Cleveland, Milwaukee, New York, Orlando, even go out west. If you make it all the way to the finals, you see teams like Golden State, Houston. Golden State's having a huge major fall off right now. See teams like Houston and Oklahoma City. So I agree, Franco. That's a great point. Sorry to cut you off, Brendon. I know you were just about to give your thoughts, but I couldn't look past that. That's a great point, Franco. Celtics really have to figure out their starting of games. Obviously, we know that they can close games out, but also you don't want to play from behind. You don't want to run in the mud all night long. Sometimes that starting lineup sets the tone for the rest of the game for those guys to come off the bench. So I really would like to see the Celtics come out and really start better. I understand we might be nitpicking right now, winning 20 of our first 25 games, but at the same time, that has been this team doesn't have a ton of weaknesses.
Should be 25-0.
I mean, here also, you make a great point on that. The Celtics, they're 5 losses, not making excuses. You go back, total those 5 losses up. It's 6 points, guys. It's a 2-possession game, right? A 2-possession game of 5 losses. That's very, very, very impressive. So I do agree, Franco. B, I just wanted to sorry to cut you off there. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of Franco's point that these starters really kind of have to, and with Kristaps Porzingis coming back, I'm sure over time that's going to develop, right? I mean, each night it feels as if we have a new guy out. Jason Tatum missing tonight. We've seen Jaylen Brown miss a handful of games. Obviously, it's very rare, but Derek White as well, Drew Holiday with the, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Celtics handle that. But that's a great point, Franco.
So I'll say this though. I'll just say, as in tonight's game, like Justin was just saying too, we can't always rely on Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench when we're struggling like the first quarter, and then he comes in like the rest of the half of the first quarter. It's got to be from our stars, and especially I think tonight was a very quiet game from Brown. I didn't really hear much of his name being called. I mean, he was making himself known when he was kind of pick a fight with the referees, like Tatum always does. So he was kind of taking his spot with that tonight, but that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, the consistency that we need from him needs to get better, I think, too. I think also with the lineup change with Porzingis inside as well is going to be something that, I mean, he's been playing phenomenal. I mean, don't get me wrong. Porzingis has been playing phenomenal since coming back from the injury. So I just think with time, things will get better with that too. So I just think it's just going to be like, it'll take time. And then obviously the development too with this lineup.
It was interesting because you look at the box score, guys. Jaylen Brown shot the fourth most shots tonight. Fourth. Peyton Pritchard had 20. Porzingis had 18. These are shot attempts. And White had 13. Jaylen Brown, 50%, 6 of 12 from the field. So very efficient when he did have the ball in his hands, but not too much shooting from Jaylen Brown, which he was distributing the basketball tonight, 6 assists, 9 rebounds, a steal as well. So he was doing a lot more than just shooting the basketball. Are we a little shocked at that number, at that shooting attempt number being so low? Not only so low, but he's behind 3 other players on this team.
There's some games. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not really too shocked because we've been pointing out that the Celtics have been utilizing our point guards and shooting guards, Derek White and Jrue Holiday, more as the 3-and-D wings, and we've seen Tatum step up as the facilitator with Tatum out. Brown's the next man up in that role, and he was the playmaker, and he was kind of the dependent variable on the court tonight. Just being able to maintain the energy, being able to contribute in other fashions, was having some great on-ball defensive moments. I believe he had a steal or two, and did a good job of keeping on Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey that from with Detroit. And yeah, I think that we'll see more of those performances, but that was one of our more consistent performances, because when Jaylen Brown is forcing his looks, we don't want to see him try to take over the team, especially with a team with as much talent as we do, or the Celtics do. You can't rely on one player to do it all, and being able to see that workload is spread out and having our third and fourth options taking more shots than Jaylen Brown is a pretty good sign for us, especially when we win by 24.
Absolutely.
No, I definitely think, I mean, I'm not mad at the fact that Jaylen Brown didn't take as many shots as he usually does tonight. I mean, I think it's a good way to, kind of change like the development of his role and just kind of, let the other guys like kind of like, take more shots. Like Derek White took a lot more shots than I thought he would tonight. I think it's like just tonight, Holiday and Brown were the kind of the ones that I saw like, put up those like defensive rebounds and assist numbers more than other players did, obviously. So I just think it's something that I think that Brown actually did a really good job of. It's just kind of letting the other guys, take the ball more, like Porzingis shooting the ball and White shooting the ball. So that was what I like to see.
Back in September, media day, Jaylen Brown talking to Mark D'Amico saying that there's going to be moments during the season where bench guys are going to have their opportunity. No disrespect, no shade, but teams like the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards, those are teams that we're going to let Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard take care of the ball more. Tonight, Jason Tatum, after a 5-day absence, sits out tonight. Jaylen Brown takes 12 shot attempts. Peyton Pritchard comes in, drops 27 and 10. Celtics are rocking and rolling, playing through Peyton Pritchard tonight. He is tonight's player spotlight. Player spotlight presents SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a phenomenal ticketing app. Phenomenal ticketing app that they color code the tickets for you, fellas. So you go on a website, you want to know if you're getting a good deal, a great deal, or a meh deal, or even a terrible deal. Well, they categorize that all out for you right there. Green being great deals, yellow being moderate deals, and red being deals you should stay away from. Guys, the holidays are right around the corner. Christmas, New Year's Eve at the Garden, Christmas Day at the Garden against Philly, New Year's Eve at the Garden against Toronto. Definitely want to grab some friends and family, go to a Celtics game, use code Celtics Weekly at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Again, Celtics, use code Celtics Weekly for $20 off your first purchase. Peyton Pritchard tonight, fellas, 27 points, 10 assists, 4 rebounds, 50% shooting from the field, 10 of 20, 7 of 15 from distance. Franco, lead tracker. We'll get to that in a minute. Franco, I want to talk to you about Peyton Pritchard. This is a gentleman who has taken up a majority of our screen time here. I think he's been on Celtics Talk Weekly more than the actual hosts of Celtics Talk Weekly. Peyton Pritchard, I feel as if it was just 5 nights ago where Seamus and I had about a half-hour segment debating on if Peyton Pritchard can consistently be this type of player. I just want to say this. The clip that was put out there on our social media, whoever's running the clips on social media made me out to be such a downer on Peyton Pritchard. I should find out I know who made that. I'm not going to call him out. I'm not happy about the clip posted. Gut views, great for the engagement, but that's not what I'm about here. I'm about the smarts. I'm about the knowledge. That's what I'm about. And I said, Franco, back me up. This Peyton Pritchard is now. Peyton Pritchard is a consistent 20-plus scorer off the bench. He's been consistent for the last 6 games. I understand. The Milwaukee game, cry me a river, cry me an ocean. Okay. 27 and 10 tonight. I thought we were watching game 82 out of 82, and Peyton Pritchard was just absolutely toying with the Detroit Pistons tonight. He's turned into just this phenomenal, comfortable player. I mean, he's always been a comfortable player, but he's finally getting his opportunity now. Signed the extension last summer, or technically the summer before last. Comes in this year, and he's just blowing out the Sixth Man of the Year award thus far. I know it is only December, but he is clear cut in the lead. Peyton freaking Pritchard, fellas. Peyton Pritchard dominating once again.
We have a ban word on Celtics Talk Weekly. We can't allow anyone to use the R word here ever again, and that R word is regression. Cannot.
Here's the thing. In Seamus's defense, I understand where he was coming from in the sense of, can Peyton Pritchard? I just think he worded it wrong, Franco, and that's where it didn't sit pretty with me, and that's why I was like, you can't use the word regression. That's a harsh word to use, man. After one game, that's just not the word. Franco, I don't know why you're saying you sat in total silence. You did not defend me that entire time. You did not help me.
You're a strong, independent man. You can fight your own battle.
That's not what it looks like in the clip that was posted. It looked like I needed help in that clip. But I mean, Peyton Pritchard, this is him now. This is him. And who knows? Maybe this has been Peyton Pritchard. He just hasn't gotten the big opportunity like he has now. There's moments in these games, close, tight games, where he's in the game over a Drew Holiday. We're seeing that more and more often now.
Yeah, and we are going to see more of that as time goes forward, and we might have some conversations to have around the trade deadline, who's available and who's not. There might be a player in our starting lineup that, if the price is right, Peyton Pritchard can step up and fill into the starting position. I know if it's not broke, don't fix it, but that's my thing. I'm always looking around the league. I'm always looking at other options. There's always ways to improve a team, and Peyton Pritchard has proven that he can have those rotation minutes and be able to eat up a amount of production on this team. I think he's done a great job. The thing I wish I had a circling button here is the 10 assists. he really has stepped up as a facilitator for the Boston Celtics. I know we've seen them phase away from that with Jrue Holiday and Derek White and utilizing Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to fill into the playmaking roles. But as I said at the beginning of the show, it looks like Peyton Pritchard is the sunshine of this lineup. And once he gets on the court, everyone just gets the green light and they'll start making. Once he hits his shot, it feels like everything else just starts rolling for the Celtics. And it's also been the step up on the defensive side, being able to fill in for that, and also having the offensive presence. Just teams have to game plan for him now. That's something that shouldn't. The fact that teams have to put Peyton Pritchard on their whiteboard alongside in front of the names, alongside and not in front of, but the names of Jrue Holiday, Derek White, and Kristaps Porzingis. The fact that Peyton Pritchard is being even mentioned in those conversations would have been a long shot and would have been laughable if I said that 1 or 2 years ago. And it's just been a huge growth from him, and who knows what happens if these minutes just continue to be consistent, and he's proven that he deserves them.
So I don't want to get sidetracked though, but when so with Peyton Pritchard though, leading 6-man candidate, like coming off the bench, like Justin was saying, like, putting up 20, 25 points off the bench. So Franco, what was the star power that you were saying, like, he could move into that starting lineup? Like, who would be the guy to, like,
the guy.
We're gonna save it for the trade deadline.
You can't.
Fine.
You can't drop that statement, Franco.
Fine.
Yeah, you gotta tell us now. You kind of just like you
have to say. You have to say it.
All right.
You can't.
Looking at the ages on this team.
Okay, hold on. Wins us a championship. Had his best game of the year, scoring wise, the last 2 nights. I mean, played terrific against Milwaukee. Played phenomenal against Memphis. I understand shooting 5 of 17 from distance is not ideal. He was doing his job. I mean, the year prior, he was shooting 60% from that corner. Hey, listen, he might be a 35% 3-point shooter from the corner this year. I'm giving a 60%. Just recently, previously, a 60% 3-point shooter from that corner. I'm giving him those shots every day. Take those shots, Drew. Yeah. Absolutely. And then tonight has his best all-around game. Quite honestly, could have made the argument he was player spotlight tonight. 12, 8, and 6. His better all-around game all season.
If Peyton Pritchard had not had this game tonight, you could have said Jrue Holiday easily.
And now you're telling me that Jrue Holiday? You're telling me that Jrue Holiday is going to get – you think that Jrue Holiday is going to get traded from this team or should get traded?
I don't think.
And then I'm sick of – I think when somebody like Jrue or Derek White is out, I understand how Peyton Pritchard can start. And maybe he should start. First of all, let's, if you want him to win 6-man of the year so bad as selfish fans, I can raise my hand. I want him to win 6-man of the year. Don't start him in games. That's why Emmanuel quickly didn't win it when Malcolm Brogdon won it 2 years ago. The same reason why Bobby Portis didn't win it a couple years ago. Obviously Malcolm Brogdon, not discrediting him at all because he had a terrific year with us, but also, with Quickly and Portis both starting on their respective teams quite a bit, that definitely hurt them in that race. So Peyton Pritchard, that's why even shorthanded, you don't see Pritchard in that starting lineup. I'm sure they probably throw J.D. Davison before they throw in Peyton Pritchard in that starting lineup. Second of all, Franco, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing? 25 games in, and you're talking like that. That is a Seamus move, man. That is a Seamus move.
You made me say it. I didn't want to go further into detail. I was talking in future tense, and I was saying that when the conversation.
That is a very, and I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to say this to you. I'm not afraid to say this to you, radio boy. That is a very Felger and Maz type move right there. That's a very Felger and Maz type move. Just instantly, even after a couple good games, just straight up call out Drew Holiday randomly and say trade him.
It's not even a call out. He's still one of the better players on this roster.
We're talking about Peyton Pritchard here, and you're saying and now all of a sudden you're saying like, oh yeah, like, it's not like when Holiday retires in a couple of years. No, we're talking like 3 months from now when the trade deadline rolls around, we're sending Drew Holiday out. I don't think you should be talking like that, Franco.
No, I'm not talking like that. And obviously, this team has that chemistry, and I wouldn't want to do anything in the world to ruin it. There are things, if we're looking at any options on the table, and Peyton Pritchard continues to play at the level he has. Honestly, the award is great, 6th man of the year, but if he's playing at a level of production where we're capping him off, we shouldn't be limiting Peyton Pritchard. Is my final statement.
I don't think we're limiting him at all. I think we're giving him his opportunity. You're seeing him play
his role to the most he can.
You're seeing him get big fourth quarter minutes. And I just mentioned, to your point on Drew Holiday, he is playing over Drew Holiday at moments in that fourth quarter. But to go on and say, man, around the trade deadline, who knows? Peyton Pritchard gets bumped up to the starting lineup and Drew gets dished out of Boston. I don't think it's absolutely horrendously impossible, but I think I raise an eyebrow at that statement, Franco.
I raise an eyebrow at myself every time I look in the mirror. It's just putting it out there. He is going to get his opportunity at some point, and I just think he's a time is now type of player. And I obviously know Drew Holiday can adapt around him. He can be on the court at the same time as Drew Holiday. They're not really they're level with each other in that sense. You can play them interchangeably, and that's a huge testament to the Celtics' depth, and it's a huge luxury to have a player like Peyton Pritchard on the roster. And Jesus, Peyton's started a few arguments in his player spotlights in recent past. He's causing some good problems here in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, he continues to excel at his role, and his role is only getting bigger on this team. And I think, and we go back to talking about the whole shot attempts from Jaylen Brown tonight. Obviously, 3 other players had more shot attempts than him on a night where Jason Tatum doesn't play. I think that just, again, shows how deep that this team really is, even on nights where they are missing their depth. It's incredibly important, and you have guys like Peyton Pritchard who can consistently step up on an every night basis. Maybe throughout this last stretch of 5 of 6 games, scoring over 20 points. Maybe this is just who Peyton Pritchard is now. And I think that's a conversation that we should start having, or maybe a conversation that maybe we shouldn't have at all. We should I don't know if this is just the expectation from Peyton Pritchard now, that this is just a guy off the bench who can get you a little bit more than his average. And I do think, again, that's a question that Seamus did propose. I thought the way he proposed it was preposterous. But at the same time, I do believe, I wasn't a part of that show when he asked that. I do believe he is above his average, which is about 16.2, between like 16.2 and 16.5 points per game. I do think Peyton Pritchard is above that now. And I do think a stretch of 6 games, guys, is a long stretch. I get he had a 0-point game. I get he had a off night in there, but that is a consistently good stretch off this bench. That's, again, as I mentioned, already deep. Right? If you're putting up 20 plus per game as a 3rd string guard or 2nd string guard behind guards like Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown, good luck the rest of the league. I mean, this is a guy who he's out. It's like he got dissed by 29 other teams last year when they didn't, but like as if he was a free agent. He didn't get the money from anyone. He was like, I'll settle for Boston. And I mean, he's just playing out of his freaking mind right now. And I do think that this is going to continue. And this is a thing that we can consistently see from Peyton Pritchard. Even on his bad nights, Peyton Pritchard is always doing something. We mentioned his size, 6'1", 6'2", not the tallest guy out there. He makes up for it. He picks up 94 feet. It's not like this guy is a cone on defense. He's pestering defenders. He's grabbing. He's one of the better rebounding guards in the association. If you guys remember, if you guys remember, there was this game specifically, I forget, it might have been last year against the Denver Nuggets. Peyton Pritchard got like 2 or 3 offensive rebounds in a row. One of them stealing it from beyond DeAndre Jordan from behind, grabbing it and laying it up. That's kind of where Peyton Pritchard got that identity of a kind of like a junkyard dog, right? So this is just who he is right now, guys. And I think this is who Peyton Pritchard is going to continue to be throughout the course of this 82-game season. Now, obviously only game 25, so we'd like to see him continue to do this. And we'd like to see him do this in the playoffs when it matters most. So that we'll just have to wait around and see. But there is a player tonight, another white guy off the Celtics bench, who really played really, really good. It was Luke Cornett tonight. And I wanted Luke Cornett. Can we get the applause for Luke Cornett? Do we have the soundboard here for Luke Cornett? Here we go. I mean, go ahead. Oh, did you want to mention something on Pritchard? One more thing before I move on. Did you? I thought I saw your hand raised.
Oh, me or Franco?
You.
Me?
Maybe you were applauding. Were you applauding Luke Cornett?
I was applauding, yeah. No,
wow. No, I'm not used to that. I'm really only used to me and Franco applauding for Luke Cornett on this show.
I mean, what do you want me to say about Peyton?
No, that's fine. I thought you had. I thought when I saw this above the camera, I thought you were raising your hand to say something or saying something.
I applaud to Peyton Pritchard, and I applaud to who we're going to talk about, Luke Cornett, because he's been stellar. So,
yeah. I mean, come on, guys. This is somebody I said in the group chat. I mean, first quarter, Celts running in the mud after 5 days off. It was Luke Cornett. It wasn't Peyton Pritchard to start off this game. It was Luke Cornett. Came in, scored 8 of his 12 points in that first quarter, rocking and rolling on the rim. Finished with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and assists, 5 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. He was a plus 16. All that in 12 minutes, Franco. All that in 12 minutes. Luke Cornett has been exceptionally well. Yes, exceptionally well at his role. And that's been all season long. Even in moments where we've seen him rack up the coach's decisions, did not play, did not suit up when Kata's gotten his opportunity. But, man, Luke Cornett just playing his role so well for this team.
Yeah, I've been posing this one ultimatum for the past few games, and who is going to step up out of Tillman, Cornett, and Kata? And they've all gotten their fair share of opportunities. It's just who's going to take it and run with it. Luke Cornett has shown the most consistency out of all of them. Obviously, he's the most tenured out of the 3 on the Celtics roster, has built up that chemistry. Obviously, a fan favorite. I would love to see him one day with Scal behind in the booth. I think they would make a tremendous team just because of how great of a comedian he is. But there's nothing funny about how mean he was on the boards tonight. He was creating opportunities for the Celtics on fast breaks. When he gets the rebound, he finds either the Pritchard or Brown, who's already down the court, almost getting a little cherry pick action going. And he's been just comfortable. He knows what he needs to do down low. He's very generic. When it comes to his play style, he's not going up for what's the word I'm looking for? He's not finishing them in the air, not doing putbacks and whatnot. He's getting the rebound, bringing it down, assessing his options, and then putting it back up if it's a clean look. If not, he's kicking it out. And that's what the Celtics need the most out of anything else. Obviously, Tillman can attribute to this roster as well. I don't think that Cornett stepping up into the backup role officially eliminates Tillman or Kata from their opportunities. Obviously, Kata is a raw young talent. I think he's still developing. I think once he develops his basketball IQ as time goes forward, he'll be able to make those reads that Luke Cornett does. being able to get those putbacks with his athleticism. He can jump out of the building. And Tillman is a very good player, as we've seen in the past. He can guard from the 2 to the 5. He's a player who's versatile, and he can, if his shots fall, and he can spread out the defense. So I really want to tip my hat to Luke Cornett. I think tonight he really set himself apart from the other two, and I'm looking forward to seeing him continue it. And hopefully, we don't see as many DNPs for him in the future.
I definitely think that Luke Cornett's made the case to definitely be, the kind of guy that we need to come off the backups in a row. I don't really, honestly, I don't want to like sound negative about it, but I think Nemias Kid is like kind of run off on me. He's not kind of really impressing me as much as he used to. So I hate to say that too. And Tillman's just not doing it for me. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I know he's young, and we haven't seen much out of him yet this year, like a full calendar year for the Celtics. But he's not doing it for me really. So Luke Cornett's been on the roster for at least like 4 or 5 seasons now. So I just think a veteran like him, likable guy in the locker room, obviously going to just be, and then him getting that like enthusiasm to play well just makes me feel that he can be that guy to do it.
I just feel like when you talk about Luke Cornett, he just perfectly plays his role. We talk about Peyton Pritchard perfectly playing his role. Luke Cornett was a sharpshooter coming into Boston when he got traded just a few years ago, back in that 2020 year. Played his first few games for the Celtics. He was around the perimeter shooting 3-point shots. He's now turned into this high pick and roll rim protecting center for the Celtics. And I was kind of thinking, like, especially tonight, this had to be one of Luke's best games, at least in a really long time. And he's played pretty well. But this definitely had to be one of Luke's best games, and as a Celtic. And I almost posed this question in the group chat. I didn't want to think about it too much because I don't want to see Luke Cornett ever be gone from this team. Like, I just think he's such a glue guy. And I think that's exactly why Brad Stevens has kept him on this roster, not just for his on-court skills, but also just a locker room guy, gels really well, gets along with everybody. Everybody loves him. He loves everybody. Like, he's like almost like the perfect teammate to have on the roster. But I wonder what Luke Cornett's game would look like outside of Boston. Like, say he left in free agency, got traded. He went from, before he was here, nothing but shooting threes. Now his game is totally changed. I mean, totally changed. And I mentioned this before in the postgame show. Usually you're seeing 7-foot guys, centers, usually expanding their game, going to the 3-point line. He went quite opposite. He went from the 3-point line down low into the paint. That's something that you do not see in the year of 2024. And that's what you've seen. But guys, Luke Cornett has been on a tear. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Can we get the applause for this? I mean, this was, I believe, this was a few nights ago. This is a few nights ago, just eating them up. And then obviously, come on, guys, a couple years ago, this had one of my favorite, the Cornish game hen. I mean, come on, from ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? This is legendary right here. Franco's doing it right now. We got to get that. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want that?
I remember that, actually. Yeah, it took me a second. I'm like, yeah, with the bird. Yeah,
the Happy Hands Club.
Yeah.
The Happy Hands Club. I think he's I think there was one where he's dabbing. He's just rapidly dabbing. I mean, Luke Cornett is full of the celebrations. We're looking for it every game. But in all seriousness, Luke just continues to impress me. And if Peyton Pritchard didn't go off in that second half the way he did, I had all my graphics ready. I had my Luke Cornett headshots up. I had the applause on my end all ready to go. But definitely an honorable mention for Luke Cornett tonight. But let's move on, guys. Usually we do this in the beginning of the show, but we kind of got caught up in talking about Peyton Pritchard once again. But let's take a look at tonight's lead tracker. This one, not a wire-to-wire win. The Detroit Pistons did have a lead, but halfway through that second quarter, we talk about Boston's early struggles to start this game, started shooting the ball 2 of 10, as we mentioned earlier. But this one got larger and larger and larger and larger. I feel like Mike Brown at the podium just continued by possession. by possession. 32-point is your biggest lead tonight for the Boston Celtics. They blew the game open in that second quarter going and really didn't look back from there, Franco. You look at that lead tracker, you definitely like to see the growth in that lead tracker. Celtics did not waver tonight at all.
Have we seen a lead tracker look like that all season? I mean, we've had a couple of blowout games so far, but we haven't seen it progressively stay at a growing rate. And
look at that.
It's all positive from there. Just being able to see that is something that the Celtics have needed to do. We've seen them struggle going out of halftime recently. We've seen them make adjustments and almost fall behind, take their foot off the gas. One of my favorite Julian Edelman quotes is, "When you have them on the ground, you step on their neck and you hold them there." That's what the Celtics need to continue to do. Keep the pedal to the metal, and they floored the Pistons tonight. They did a good job of keeping the rotational players in. We have been talking about the depth players. We honestly talk about the depth players here on Celtics Talk Weekly more than we talk about the starting five in most of our post-game shows. And want to know what? We'll give them their flowers because they deserve them. Being able to fill in, Drew Peterson looking like hasn't missed a day here. He's been here since day one, even though he's been splitting his time down in Maine. It's something that you can just attest to the development of this roster, how they take care of each player individually. The coaching has players ready to go. When they're sitting on the bench, they are expecting to go in. They're not sitting there just watching the game like you'll see a whole bunch of other organizations having their players just there as cheerleaders and emotional support. I think that we've seen a lot of these players start to grow, and that's why we're having these conversations about what to do with this roster and how lucky another team would be to even have a Luke Cornett on their roster. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Luke Cornett, and he is technically our third string center if you consider Al Horford a center. And it's just once again just an absolute luxury that the Celtics just need to continue to take advantage of.
Yeah, no, tonight definitely was and you heard even Scal and Drew say it when they were starting the game too. It's like we're going big tonight, and we didn't have Hauser, Tatum, that wing depth that we usually have in every game we play. So it's good to kind of see Porzingis and then obviously Al Horford take the starting roles, and it was definitely a factor that I think that kind of kept us those leads with defensively and all that.
I think the Celtics did exceptionally well tonight, holding this had to be one of their, if not their best defensive game. And 25 games in, and we talk about it all the time, especially Rob talks about, okay, this is the 25 game mark, little over a quarter of the season through. This is kind of when we know the true identity of the team, kind of what we're dealing with. Defense has been a huge question for me tonight. That wasn't the problem tonight whatsoever. The Celtics took care of business on the defensive end. I feel like their switches were really solid. I feel like their big men played exceptionally well against a smaller Detroit team and a very quick Detroit team, which obviously, their average age on the team is freaking 17 years old. It's just ridiculous, so just credit to the Celtics for being ready. And to me, this was like the ultimate trap game. I was a little bit nervous coming into tonight. Usually you get 5 days rest coming off a loss. Then you look at the injury report, you see 3 names on there, and it's like, blech, like you got to be kidding me. And Celtics come out tonight and just start to finish, just utterly dominated, demotoring the Pistons tonight on the parquet, which is very important because we do talk about one of the weaknesses, not only their defense, but their production when Jason Tatum is not out on the court. And we've seen the progression of that, especially the last 2 games against the Detroit Pistons. Tatum has not been a part of either of them. And the Celtics, a 10-point win the first game, here a 24-point win, as much as a 32-point lead tonight here. And I feel you're just getting equal word I'm looking for. You're getting equal distributions from everybody. Like there wasn't anybody that was. There was a point where I looked at the box score and there was like 3 or 4 Celtics players who had 17 points tonight at once. And there wasn't a player who, obviously Pritchard had 27, but for the most part, there wasn't a player who like really blew everybody else out. Like I believe Derek White had 23, which let's talk about Derek White real quick, because I mean, this guy coming into tonight, the last like 4 or 5 games, shot 5 of 26 from the field, comes in tonight, drains 7 3-point jumpers, 23 points tonight. Franco, we'll start with you on Derek White, because you just mentioned, talk about the bench a lot here on Celtics Talk Weekly, but tonight, Derek White was phenomenal. Huge bounce back game from him.
Yeah, a huge bounce back game for him. And we have been looking for those type of performances. We can almost look for silver linings with Tatum being out, and it almost is a blessing in disguise for the Celtics team when a player is out, especially for the other players on this team, because the ball can only be in one person's hand at once. It's something that the Celtics have done a good job of. You'll notice when someone's having a hot night, they'll start passing the ball. I mean, you look at Peyton Pritchard, they ride the hot hand until they want to hand off the momentum to someone else. And we saw a more collaborative effort tonight than we saw an independent performance from anyone else. And when everyone on this team is connecting and is able to contribute in their own fashions, that's when we're seeing the best out of them. And perfect example is Derek White. He's one of those players that almost goes nearly unrecognized on the court until he has 23 points on the board and he's draining 3 threes in a row. He's just so good at contributing in every facet of the game, being always a defensive. We can always rely on him on the defensive end. And when he's able to contribute on the offensive end, it just adds another almost all-star to this team, because we know how good Derek White is, and we know what he is capable of giving to the Celtics team. And it gets overshadowed by the other talent on this team, and it's something that we saw him get his respect for during the playoffs. Let's just remind everyone who Derek White is tonight.
And I'm not going to say, like, that he hasn't missed a step. He hasn't missed a step, obviously. He's just been, like, the most, like, he's never hurt. I mean, I don't want to jinx it now, but, like, he's just, like, he's Mr. Reliable. It's just, like, reliable. You just got to he's always with us usually. Like, I don't see any setbacks from him. I just see, like, every night I see him play, I just see the same Derek White defensively, offensively, like, consistency, and just, like, obviously the best blocker guard in the league. So that's just what I love about him.
I mean, D. White just does it all. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely ridiculous how Derek White has evolved in just it feels like, 2.5 years since he got traded here. Just terrific, Derek White. What was that?
For Romeo Langford and
Romeo Langford and Josh Richardson. That's a crazy pull. That is a crazy pull. But then my Photoshop's popping up here on my laptop. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was weird. My laptop just bugged. But getting back to Derek White, I feel like Derek White can shoot like 0 of 15, and it's just like I just won't be mad. Like Derek White's just that type of player. He gives it his all. We always talk about, especially Rob brings it up all the time. What are you doing when you're not shooting the ball well? And Derek White is like the perfect example of that. He doesn't always have to shoot the ball well. He's always going to be doing something. His playmaking has improved. He's a terrific hustler. He'll grab some rebounds for you. And obviously defensively, one of the best guards in the league at shot blocking. So credit to Derek White, man, staying ready and just exceptional. He doesn't care if he shoots 5 of 26 in his last like 3 or 4 games. He doesn't care about that. Like, he's gonna continue to shoot the same looks that he shoots, and he's gonna make them when they matter most. Obviously, tonight wasn't a close game down the stretch, but even in that fourth quarter, we saw Derek White stroking it from distance, feeling comfortable in his zone. I really liked a few plays also in that fourth quarter. Early in the fourth, Porzingis and White connected on a few plays. I really liked that. But again, credit to Derek White, not letting his poor shooting nights affect him recently. And to me, that just shows the ultimate character of him, right? Like, he's not passing up these looks. He's not taking terrible looks, and he's not letting that shot. Usually, like, if you're in a shooting slump and you're shooting the ball horribly, it's like you don't even want to get back and play defense. And that's what killed the Celtics back in that year we went to the finals against, I think it was Golden State. Try to forget that series. But that, you guys remember, Celtics, if they did not shoot the 3-point shot well, they were not going to play defense. They did not play good defense. That's not the case with this team. That's not the case with Derek White. He's going to continue to play his ass off, and I just absolutely love what I see from Derek White. Celtics get a huge win here tonight, guys. Before we close this out, we do play the Washington Wizards on Sunday night, so we do get another couple days rest. Feel like the NBA, like, I feel like this is a dream scenario, and oh my gosh, it's like, please don't be that team, even though Denver lost to Washington the other night. For Gershon Yabusele, pull that back up. You can pull that back up. Ben asked, do you guys think we could take it? You got to take it from the back. And yeah. Do you think we could pull off a trade for Jaden Springer for Gershon Yabusele? So here's the thing about that.
2 reunions.
I mean, 2 reunions for each of them. I mean, that'd be pretty pointless in my opinion for Philly. One, because they're already short big men. Like, I just feel as if, you're not gonna. First of all, Gershon Yabusele balled in the Olympics, and then he's playing solid in his role out in Philadelphia. He's not playing, god awful. You're not. Yeah, salaries work. Salaries do work. I just don't see Philly doing that. I don't see why they would. Why would you trade Jaden Springer away and then half a year later go back and get him and trade away a big guy when your big guy depth is
not
already
using him ever again? Probably, yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, so that doesn't make too much sense. But I would love Yabu back. I mean, he was awesome, man.
Bear, you gotta love him.
The dancing bear. There's nothing to hate about Yabusele, man. He's just
Semi Ojeleye era too. I remember Semi Ojeleye as well.
We could just start going on through the names, man.
We'd have to throw in a bunch of second round picks. I mean, it goes beyond that. What I think is a good time to ask this type of question, Ben. When we have Seamus in, that's the best type of time to ask this question, because Seamus will dig deep into the draft picks, what works, what doesn't. He'll really pick your brain about the salaries. That's the type of guy to go to. That is above my pay grade. Rob does not pay me enough to go into salaries. But I will say this. I will. I'm definitely not paying him after that clip he posted on me the other day, man. Oh my goodness. But I do want to mention the Washington Wizards coming up in a couple days. I feel as if obviously you want to win every award you can. And by that, I mean the NBA Cup. But also you get the benefit of, yes, you didn't make it to Vegas, but you did get 4 days rest. You played Detroit, an added game. And then you get 2 more days rest. And then you get Washington. And then you get some more rest after that. So I feel as if this is a great stretch for the Celtics. And, maybe you don't mind seeing Jason Tatum sit again. Would that be crazy for me to say? Would that be...
Go on vacation, book a flight to Cancun. The flights might be...
I don't know. Cheap. He loves playing Washington. He saw Washington, rightfully so. Do you think, would you hate the idea of Jason Tatum sitting on Sunday night?
I wouldn't hate it. It would be lazy, and I think it would go against. Yeah,
Because
I'd be
here's the
surprised.
thing: this is a real injury that there. It's not like this whole thing's like totally blown over.
Yeah.
I do think, obviously, adding an extra rest day, but I do, having 4 days off does make me think that okay, maybe he is really dealing with something because obviously the speculations go beyond that and say, oh well, maybe he's just resting, and they'll just get fined for saying rest now because that's how that works. I do think he might be dealing with a little something, but like I said earlier in the show, uh, game 25 against the Detroit Pistons on a December night, that's a lot better than missing a game in April.
Right. And we've also heard the famous line from Jason Tatum, I'll play on the nights and put on a performance on the NBA League Pass games against the Charlotte Hornets. The
Yeah, and then we
Charlotte
got
Hornets are better than the Washington Wizards. What's that? I was just trying to pull it up on my phone. What's that Kyle Kuzma meme of him saying, at least we're not that team?
Yeah, it's
He
like
is
don't
that
be that
team
team.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I was like, I hope, and they were losing like 16 straight games before they beat Denver. I was like, oh man, like I just hope Kyle Kuzma and the Washington Wizards lose 29 straight games. I just think that would just be so funny. Wizards suck. I mean, here we go. Wizards suck. And then cut to us, flash ahead to Sunday night, us talking about the Celtics getting whacked by the Wizards, right? But I mean, the Wizards come on. We know we're not going to have to worry about the Wizards in April and May. So I think we could talk our smack about the Washington Wizards. But I think
They got that Brogdon guy.
it is a gift. It is a gift that the Boston Celtics have this amount of rest, and they have Detroit and Washington as those two added games. I think that's a gift. I think that's better than winning the NBA Cup, fellas.
It's definitely going to be like we were talking about Tatum getting the rest earlier too. I just think it's like too much resting can obviously it might not get his momentum the same, and I don't want to like jump into like the conversation too much, but like I don't want it to ruin his case for MVP voting this year because more time that he sits, I feel like that maybe won't give him more time to like shine for his playing to be MVP. Excuse me.
Who's your MVP? Who's your MVP right now? Let's get into it. Come on. Let's get into it.
I mean, I don't want to say like
say it. Come on, say it. There's nothing. There's no. Unless you say something stupid like Joel Embiid, there's no like terrible wrong answer.
No,
like
he's
it's game 25 of the regular.
It's gonna be either between Jokic and Tatum.
Oh, okay.
So
who's your top three right now? Who's your top? Who would you say in no particular order? Who would you think? Who would you say your top three is?
I would go, Jokic probably number one, honestly, and then I would say Tatum is second, and then third, I would say Giannis is jumping back into the case as well. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys agree, disagree. I mean,
go ahead, Franco.
I don't even know if I could say this, but that Luigi. I saw something about that.
No.
He tweeted that take about a week ago too. So, oh man, but I think Tatum wins speak. Wins are the most numerous stat on the game. I think wins are the only stat that matters. So if Jokic can continue to win, and obviously the improvement of the Milwaukee Bucks will bring him back into the case, I think that we've seen the performances out west by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and it's going to be a much more well-rounded race because there's going to be more than enough candidates for this year's running, because usually it's up to 3 or 4 people. This year we might see like 5 or 6 people in the MVP conversation.
I think
I usually narrow it down to 3 people, but I honestly I can't believe I left SGA out of that conversation. I might even put him at number 3, honestly, not Giannis.
I mean, SGA was my pick for MVP this year. Sounds
unguardable.
Crazy.
Like,
he is just unreal. I think I had Ant Edwards in there as in my top 3. He is not in that top 3.
No,
I don't disagree with Giannis being in there in that conversation right now. Only thing is, like, these guys can't win games. The Milwaukee Bucks are just not doing good. But the Boston Celtics.
Whoa.
And
I'm already here.
Whoa.
I'm already here.
Seamus is in. Seamus just
Wait, I have to
barely.
mute the. I decided to make a surprise appearance because I'm sorry if I interrupted your guys' conversation. I was just watching the live stream. So, I don't know where Justin went, but anyway, I just have to give a quick shout out first of all to Hannah Hidalgo because oh my goodness, I saw her play tonight against Connecticut. That woman is for real. But as for what you guys were talking about, were you guys talking about the MVP just now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, can we get all 4 guys up here? Okay,
Right
there
here.
we go. I don't want to knock anybody out of the show here. I don't want to interrupt too much. I can dip on out of here whenever. But
Well, no, it was just a little hot take because we were just talking about MVP candidates and stuff, and all of a sudden, Brendon dropped how Anthony Edwards is his leading MVP, and we were talking about how that wouldn't really be possible with how the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing at the moment.
no.
I didn't say Anthony Edwards was MVP, number 1, did I?
Yeah, he did.
Well-
Yeah, you said number 1.
No,
He's your number 1. He's my number 1. No,
No,
he's
he
not-
said he said he was your number 1, and I was like, that's funny because I had him as my top 3, and he's not even top 3 right now because in coming into the season, I had him as my top 3.
I said SGA was supposed to be.
Yeah, no, that's who I have. As
Oh,
I
okay.
think,
Okay.
yeah,
You confused me.
no,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
What happened last year in terms of Anthony Edwards, if he wasn't firmly, I think one day it's like these guys have to be more anointed over time with their teams having success year after year because after what happened last season, it's like Anthony Edwards could have been in the MVP conversation. Could Towns have been in the MVP conversation? Yet they weren't because Jokic and Giannis, especially Jokic. Jokic is just out of this world, but his team isn't doing the greatest. It's like our 2 generational players right now, Jokic and Giannis. Excuse me, losing my voice here. Jokic and Giannis, they're supposed to be our generational players right now, but their teams are just not performing up to standards of where you would think an MVP's team is. So that kind of leaves it to other guys in a sense. I think right now it has to be Jokic in terms of the statistical numbers, but in terms of team success,
Tatum
you
clears.
could give it to Tatum. You could give it to SGA. I think Giannis is just so underrated.
I think
He's so
Giannis
underrated.
conversation. People aren't even putting Giannis in that conversation. I think Giannis is undoubtedly in the MVP conversation. Undoubtedly. I don't think there's a reason why he shouldn't be. I do understand they're like 2 or 3 games over 500, if that. So that definitely is where the question comes in. But I feel as if Giannis's name isn't getting mentioned enough. I feel like it hasn't been mentioned enough in the past few years anyway. I'm a big Giannis guy. I shouldn't say that as a Celtics fan with Giannis kind of being our rival right now, but I'm a Giannis guy. What can I say?
we don't have any rivals around here.
Justin totally ousting himself. I feel like I'm having a Franco moment right now. I have my TV on in the background. There's not my TV. I've got this
That's not me.
Airbnb TV
It's
on.
not me, Justin.
Well, hold on,
There we go.
hold on, Seamus. I'm glad you're in here. I'm glad you're here. Can you see the full screen?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know I was going to pop in here so quick. I
Yeah.
thought I was going to just pop in and like you guys would see me at the bottom. I could.
Yeah. I just for the viewers who were not in the stream, tonight's player spotlight: Peyton Pritchard, 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 10 assists. Peyton Pritchard shot 10 of 20 from the field, 7 of 15. He has now scored 20 or more points in 6 of his last 7 games. Peyton Pritchard tonight, fellas, terrific. I've already heard from Brendon and Franco. Seamus, I'd like to hear from you about Peyton Pritchard tonight.
Well, I got to be honest right now. I didn't see much of the game because I just got back to place here, and I was for those who don't know, I was at the Notre Dame UConn game tonight. So I got the jacket on here. Notre Dame came out with a great win, 11-point win. So I didn't see much of the Celtics game at all, although I know we were up 20 for most of the second half. But in terms of Peyton Pritchard, I can talk on some of his most recent performances. And Justin, this kind of is answering the question for us. This is answering the question.
No.
This is answering the question of, is he going to just be an average role player, or can he be?
I answered the question for you the other day. I said, yes, this is who Peyton Pritchard is now. This is him. He is above his average. He is above his average. He's going to be above his average. The only thing that you could possibly say about this is, well, it wasn't against a big-time matchup. It wasn't against a big-time team. It was the Detroit Pistons. You could
Okay, well, yeah, you can say that about this one. That is correct. It's not a big-time team, not a big-time matchup. I still believe Pritchard. He needs to put more of this on his resume for us to really, really, really believe it. But he's doing that right now. He did it against the Grizzlies. He did it, of course, again tonight against the Detroit Pistons. I know those. The Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are one of the more underrated teams in the entire NBA right now. I mean, they beat us, and I believe they were like 7-2 in their last 9 coming in against us. Might have been. They might have had 1 more or 2 more games in between that record, but. Right now with Peyton Pritchard, I think the question is the beginning of the season Pritchard, is that really himself, or is it right now what we're seeing? Because even what we're seeing right now, in my opinion, is still a small sample size. But within that small sample size, it's starting to become an every game occurrence outside of the Milwaukee game. And the reason I picked on him during that Milwaukee game is that was the only time we could pick on him. We can't pick on him during a 27-point performance. We can't pick on him during a 25-point, 29-point performance like he's been putting up. You don't have
to pick on him at all, Seamus.
But when you score 0 points, the question has to be asked, are you closer to that 10-point per game score, or are you closer to that 25-point per game score, which 25 might be a little bit too much. Maybe say 20-point per game score. But 25, I mean, 27 tonight, he is getting up towards that number right now. But I think Peyton Pritchard really – he needs to put more of this on his resume in order for us to really certify him as that player in the long run, because it is still a short sample size at this moment in time. It's just, it is becoming more of a reality than not a reality that he is this type of player. It's just the fact of he's only been doing this for 3 weeks, and we want to see it for 3 months. We want to see it for 4 months. We want to see it for a full year. That's really my question. I have nothing against Pritchard. I have nothing against playoff P. Playoff P is Paul George, but let's face it, Peyton Pritchard, he's going to be playoff P later this year.
Paul George might not even be in the playoffs this year, Seamus. So
the play-in P, that's who he'll be. But Peyton Pritchard, he's been impressive. Don't get me wrong.
So, okay, first of all, our little debate picked up some traction here. So I just want to say, I don't disagree with what you were trying to say. I think you used the word regression, and I think the word regression was just a poor choice of words to use. I
go back on that conversation or that debate that we had, and I'm like, Justin is just too hung up on the word regression right now.
Because it's a preposterous word to use off of one game, and I will stand by that. He definitely what's the synonym? What's the opposite of degress? Progress, right? He's definitely progressing. I mean, he's progressing every night. He's progressing. Since you made that comment about him degressing, I keep on wanting to say degrease, but degressing.
Is degressing a word? Is that even a word? We need the comment section to come up with the dictionary right now.
Regress. You use regress.
Yes.
Regress is what you use. I don't know why I kept saying that, but you use that word, and ever since then, he's progressed. So maybe you need to start using that word more and more, because we're not going to see performances. Maybe you should probably start using that word on a guy like, I don't know, Baylor Shireman, Xavier Tillman.
Baylor Shireman. Baylor Shireman can't regress because there's nowhere to regress to.
How is a rookie gonna get worse?
He's doing trick shots.
Well,
and
we've seen it before with Tyreek Evans. Is one of his best years in the career in his career was his rookie year. I mean, he did have a great year in 18-19. I will say, shout out Tyreek Evans. Who
we
else?
almost
Michael Carter Williams.
Taylor Sherman's career hasn't even started yet.
No, he's banned. He's okay. In all seriousness, I will say though, and Seamus, I mentioned this earlier, the whole Peyton Pritchard thing right now is great. But just like last year, if you guys remember, we were blowing out teams, like absolutely torching teams. And the big thing was, okay, like we know we're going to do this to teams. Are we going to do this to teams come April, May, June? Is that when we're going to do it? That's kind of where I'm at with Peyton Pritchard. It's like we know Peyton Pritchard's capable of doing this. Pretty much, at least he's proven to us this past near month on an every night basis. Is he going to be able to do this in April, in May, potentially June if Boston can get that far again? It's very tough to do in back-to-back seasons, but is Peyton Pritchard going to be able to do this? Then you also kind of bring up the point where he might not be getting the same opportunity that he's getting right now. Will we be able to see Peyton Pritchard for 35 plus minutes on a nightly basis come playoff time? I don't know. So I will say that it's great to see Peyton Pritchard doing this pretty much on an every night basis, but I would like to see this continue from him, especially going into the playoffs.
I got to say, though, I saw you guys texting in the group chat earlier about how the Celtics sometimes wait until Peyton Pritchard comes into the game to really get it going. And
there goes Franco with that hand raise again.
It is like, on one hand, it is positive that Peyton Pritchard is doing this as a sixth man of the year candidate, as somebody off the Celtics bench. I don't think any of us really pictured, somebody's going to come off the Celtics bench and almost average 25 a game over a month stretch this year. I mean, obviously the person to do that would be Pritchard if it was anybody, maybe Sam Hauser in a random streak, I would say. But we weren't thinking somebody was going to produce off the bench like Pritchard is right now. So that's a positive for the Celtics. But there is almost this dependency on Peyton Pritchard to put up those numbers every night. And that's a little concerning for the Celtics because last year, really, those numbers were coming from guys like Derek White, Drew Holiday. You could even say Kristaps Porzingis more so. And it's just not really coming from those guys much this year, as much as it is from Pritchard. And I think we have to get those guys going more than anything else if we really want to be up to that championship level that we were last year. Now, theoretically, this team should be better than they were last year because I think those same guys can perform at the level they were last year because a lot of those points they were getting, like Derek White. Now, Derek White, he was attacking the rim a lot in the early season last year, but near the end of the year, it was those corner threes, those wing threes, those wide open threes, Tatum and Brown collapsing the defense, White from the corner, Drew Holiday from the corner, Kristaps Porzingis, he can work both inside and out. If we can get those guys going more often than not, plus what Peyton Pritchard can do off the bench, this team can excel beyond where they were last season. It's just right now, some of those other guys aren't necessarily carrying the same exact weight as they were last year. And I don't want to say it's concerning because we're still winning and we're 20-5 and we really are on pace with last year. And we were actually better than last year 2 games ago before we lost the Memphis game. We were on better pace than last year. And now we're on the same pace. So I can't say we can't complain too much about it. It's just, I guess the scoring really, what we see is it's coming from other sources this year and other I would say other methods of scoring because you can even say Jason Tatum too. Tatum and Brown last year, they were kind of going back and forth. And even you could tell last year the team was, I don't want to say, I almost use the word slack out here because I don't think that's the correct word to use, but it wasn't as much of Tatum as it was everybody. No, well, I was gonna say picking up the slack for Tatum, but I don't want to say Tatum and Brown were slacking last year. It was like they were deferring to the rest of their guys, letting the rest of the talent take out what they needed to take out in terms of scoring and producing offensively. And essentially this year, like you have Tatum, he's in the MVP conversation. He's averaging 30 a game or upwards of 30 a game. And at this point last year, he wasn't quite at that level. He was close to it, but he is more of the offense this year than he was last year. So it's like the Celtics are doing the same exact thing in terms of putting up results from last year. It's just it's coming from different sources and it's coming through different methods. And sometimes that can rub us the wrong way because we kind of look at it and go, oh, this is the same team. Should be playing out in the same way. Yet they've the Celtics, I don't want to say they switched things up or anything like that because
Yeah.
they still have the same method of how they want to score the ball. It's just different players are doing it, and it's kind of the allocation of where it's going is just a bit different. So it's not really a concern. It's just something to watch, really, as the season goes on, how it plays out.
Well, we're going to get to see how that plays out on Sunday night, where the Boston Celtics are back on the road. I believe they're in the nation's capital. I believe it's a road to the Celtics. So they'll be playing the Washington.
We don't want to be that team. We don't want to be that team.
We don't want to be we don't want to pull the Denver Nuggets here, do we? Back in action. Another off rest. That's great for guys. And Sam Hauser and your boy Jaden Springer, Seamus, who missed tonight's action. Tough ad on the injury report tonight. But 6:00 p.m. tip-off for the Celtics and Wizards. We'll have you guys covered for Celtics post-game live, probably anywhere between 8 o'clock, quarter after 8-ish. Come right back here on the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel, or if you're watching it on Instagram Live, we've been trying to rock and roll on the Instagram Live as well. Give you guys kind of a more diverse kind of pick your poison type thing.
Uh-oh.
Well, there goes Justin for you. He's going to be back on Sunday, and we'll just run.
I don't know what happened.
Wait. This gives me a chance. Wait, Justin, I'll give you a hard reset right now. I just want to say something real quick about women's college basketball because I went to a game earlier tonight. I just want to give a quick briefer on that. Notre Dame, they should be national champion favorites. I haven't looked at the odds right now, but I don't see how UConn. I'm sorry, New England folks. I don't know how UConn can.
It's like every year with them. Like they just dominate. They just dominate in the regular season, and then they get to the tournament and they make it far and then fall short. So
Notre Dame was putting an emphasis on shooting the three ball, and two players, Hidalgo and Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo. I don't know. I've been hearing those names all night. Somehow I forgot them in the last 2 seconds. Those two players, absolute flamethrowers on the floor. Notre Dame, super efficient from beyond the arc. And UConn, they weren't looking for the three ball. And also, they couldn't get the ball to Paige Beckers the entire game until there were like 3 minutes, about three and a half minutes left on the clock. And by that time, it was too late. Got to get the ball to her because she is their best player on the floor. UConn's best player is Paige Beckers, and she just they were denying her the ball the entire night, denying her the ball. And Gino Ariama, get your best player the ball. I keep hearing about this winning record. I keep hearing about all these national championships, but guess what? I haven't seen one since 2016. Gino Ariama, you got to get the ball to your best player. I didn't see that earlier tonight. I know Paige Beckers had a good game, but you got to get the ball to your best player. And they did down the stretch, but it was a little bit too late. As for Notre Dame, the ball was in their best player's hands the whole game. Hannah Hidalgo, Justin's flowers. That might be a segment. I'm gonna take the flowers from Justin wherever he is up on screen. I'm gonna hand them to Hannah Hidalgo tonight because my goodness, I think she's a special basketball player. That just
I already
absolute
gave my
energy bug. My goodness.
I already gave my flowers out on Luke Cornett, so you can't have my flowers. You got like the dandelion.
I gotta find my own.
You got the scraps that I cut off from the bottom.
Oh, look at this. Oh, almost tripped out here. Look at the Airbnb flowers. There you go.
Nice.
There we go. They're blue.
They're
Connecticut blue, unfortunately, but here you go.
They're probably covered in so many different diseases that you don't know about. The Celtics grab a 123-99 victory over the Detroit Pistons. That was their 20th win of the season. They improved to 20-5. on the regular season. Peyton Pritchard tonight, your player spotlight, 27 points, 10 assists off the bench. Derek White following him with 23 points for the Celtics in a big comeback game from D. White, nailing 7 3-pointers. So big win for the Celtics. Are back in action Sunday night, 6 o'clock p.m. tip-off, as I mentioned earlier, against the Washington Wizards. In Washington, we'll have you covered for Celtics Postgame Live. I'm Justin. That's Brendon. That's Franco. That's Seamus. We'll catch you guys on Sunday. Roll the music. Oh, it's already rolling. Volume's just off. But we roll it. Celtics win.